I'm Jodie and my husband Bo is being treated for bowel cancer. It's taken me a while to be part of Bo's website because I've been reluctant. I'm still coming to terms with the situation. I think the idea of putting my thoughts and feelings into a video would make the situation seem real. My thoughts and feelings, I suppose they'd be permanently captured and that would make me feel vulnerable. But now I'm coming to terms with it and accepting the change in the direction for our life. And I've been able to capture this in a way that makes some sort of sense to me. For the first 22 days after Bo's diagnosis, I think I was quite level-headed. I focused on the financial and logistical impact of our day-to-day life. And I had questions like, when and where will surgery take place? How long will the recovery be? Will chemo be necessary? And if it is, when and where will this take place? And how long will Bo be off of work? I didn't think for a minute that Bo wouldn't make it through this journey. To me, I suppose it was always going to be about just doing everything we could to get Bo to his necessary appointments and treatments to reach the end goal, being cured. In hindsight, I realise now that I was probably quite remiss about the situation. I even went out for dinner and went to the Michael Jackson show with an old friend on the night that Bo had his surgery. After 5 days in hospital, Bo came home and things seemed to be tracking along well. Bo had even been told that he could go on his trip to the US with his brother, and that was looking good, and until things took a turn for their worse. Bo returned to hospital and he had emergency surgery after his resection leaked. He underwent a colostomy, which is a procedure where they take the healthy end of the large intestine and bring it out through an opening, which is called a stoma, and suture the intestine to the abdominal wall. I suppose it wasn't until I spoke to the surgeons after surgery and I asked them why they couldn't have just performed another resection, and rather than doing the colostomy and leaving him with a stoma and having to wear a colostomy bag. And the surgeons told me that they had to focus on saving Bo's life, and that he'd been septic and his BP was 70 and declining when they got him into surgery. It was at that point that I felt as if someone had just punched me in the heart and had their hands around my throat at the same time. I just sat on the windowsill and cried in the hospital. No more dinners, no more fancy shows. I sat at Bo's hospital bedside thinking about how close I'd come to losing him and how different our lives would be now. Having the internet at my fingertips while we were in hospital was the best tool that I had to understand what the doctors were talking about and be able to research and ask intelligent questions that got informative answers. I remember early in the journey after Bo's colonoscopy, we were told that what the doctor had found was bad, and I had to ask what bad was, and when the doctor responded like cancer, like I was an idiot for not knowing, I thought, this is going to be interesting. And then when he went back into hospital, once his resection had leaked, I kept getting told that Bo had been very sick. And it was like, well, what does everyone mean by this? He was very sick. And so as I kept getting more information out of the doctors and surgeons and the nurses, I managed to work out that Bo had been septic and his blood pressure, had been declining to quite dangerous levels prior to his second surgery. So then once he was in recovery and the days following recovery, and they were waiting for his bowel to sort of wake up from additional surgery. They kept talking about a blockage, and here I was thinking that they were talking about something physically that was stuck in Beau's bowel. And again, have a look at it, listen for the key words, and ileus was a word that kept coming up when they kept talking about this blockage. And so that's, I googled it and all that sort of thing, and to find out that it just meant that basically the bowel hadn't woken up yet, and it didn't have its peristalsis going on. When Beau came home from hospital, we had a chat about what had been going on at home. He told me that he never really thought about what life was like back at home for us while he was concentrating on getting better. And I was like, yeah, I still had to go to work, food still had to be cooked, washing, cleaning, exercise, playtime, all of that stuff still continued. So while life almost stopped for Beau, it certainly didn't slow down outside the hospital walls. Fortunately, I was able to work while I was in the hospital. I did a online training course for 3 days prior to the weekend, and took my laptop and borrowed a surgical trolley to use at a desk, and hooked in and did the training course. I received great support from family and our wider community to help care for our 4-year-old daughter. And it was really important to me that I maintained a sense of normalcy for her. And when Beau went back into hospital for the emergency surgery, she told me that she didn't want to see Daddy while he was in hospital this time, because I'd taken her to see him for his first surgery. And I told her that was fine and that she could let me know if she changed her mind. But this meant while I was in hospital, she wasn't with me, so I needed to juggle her carers carefully and make sure that she wasn't being shifted around too much. And so I was able to have her cared for by the same couple of families. Support from our family and community came in so many forms. We had delicious evening meals prepared by 7 households. Beau's mum and my mum were there for us wherever and whenever they were needed. Our daughter had some sleepovers, and she was picked up from and dropped off to childcare by excited quasi-grannies. So Beau's had 2 rounds of chemo now, and we're getting a better idea of what to expect for the next 6 months. Thankfully, it seems that things are going back to finance and logistics. Suits me well. Appointments are regular. We know how long the treatments are over the 3 days that he receives chemo, and that's every fortnight. It's on the same days at the same time. So I'm able to plan around that a lot better. We're looking forward and thinking about exciting things that we can do in February and March and that sort of thing. So it's really nice to be able to be scheduling things in around Beau's chemo, and hopefully he continues to be well between treatments. So yeah, that's where I'm up to with our cancer journey.